What you just said is one of the most insanely idiotic things I have ever heard. At no point in your rambling, incoherent response were you even close to anything that could be considered a rational thought. Everyone in this room is now dumber for having listened to it. I award you no points, and may God have mercy on your soul.
This Sunday, football is officially back as 3 games in Vegas will kick off and the Leeds Rhinos get to shine in the entertainment capital of the world. Also, the 1-year anniversary of the Milkman is right around the corner. All that and more right here on the Milkman Podcast. You're tuned in to the Milkman Podcast. Hello and welcome back to the Milkman Podcast, your unofficial home for Canberra Raiders rundowns and the home of undeniable mediocrity. My name is Mitch Roberts and we're not going to get into the Raiders much this episode. Not much has happened since Monday in terms of news about the Canberra Raiders, but you know what they say, no news is good news. That's what we were taught in journalism, so I guess it's true. But yeah, not much about the Canberra Raiders, so I thought I'd wear a Raiders polo shirt just to make sure everybody knows this is still a Raiders podcast. There's just nothing going on, but, you know, a lot to talk about still. But first and foremost, obviously, thoughts are with Chad Townsend, the Sharks champion. Unfortunately, had a little bit of a collapse on the flight to Los Angeles on the way to Vegas, I believe. So I'm pretty sure he's okay now. I hope so. But yeah, obviously thoughts are with him. You hate to see it. Obviously, another late episode on Monday. Not going to make an excuse, and I'm not going to make an apology either. But I did lose track of time. I will explain. I did lose track of time. I was catching up on Married at First Sight on Monday. Had the episode all recorded and everything ready to go, and just needed to put some finishing touches on editing and all that sort of stuff. And by the time I finished my reruns and all that sort of stuff, it got pretty late. So decided to schedule them all for 4 a.m. the next day, and obviously they were up on the Tuesday. So yeah, there you go. I'll watch Married at First Sight. I'll watch MAFS. I don't know if anyone else does. I'll quickly say, Beck's an absolute weirdo. She's very strange. She's a lunatic, more so than Brooke. Wouldn't have thought that, but even from the start, I said to Mum, I don't like her, and Mum liked her, and I just thought, nah, she's crazy. I feel bad for Luke as well, the country boy. Even from the start, it just felt like a brother-sister thing. Even when they were getting married, they just looked and felt like brother and sister. They were just bickering and all that sort of stuff, and it was really uncomfortable, and I just thought, yeah, they're more like a brother and sister, aren't they? I'm assuming they'll end up good friends by the end of it, if this whole second wind of her actions aren't, performative to sort of cover her bases, because she knows that she was playing up. But, anyway, I'll stop talking about MAFS. This isn't the MAFS Man podcast. But Gus Gould likes it, so that's my that's my defence tactic there. If Gus Gould likes it, I think I can get away with it. But anyway, let's get straight into the preview for some of the Vegas games. All 3 of them, I should say. All of the Vegas games for this week. So, We'll go in order of the game. Leeds versus Hull Kingston Rovers. Should be a good one. I'm expecting a good one here. Leeds last game, 46-14 over the York Knights was a win over the York Knights. Sivo and Danny Levi watch will be a very big thing on this podcast because I am a Leeds Rhinos fan, so I will want to be talking about Sivo and Danny Levi as much as possible. I'm really looking forward to this one. Really hope we get the win there, but, Milkman tips to come. We'll get into it then. Football's back on Sunday. How good. I'm so excited. So excited. Hull Kingston Rovers' last Super League game was a loss to the same York Knights, 18-19, but their very next game, they went on to beat Brisbane in the World Club Challenge. Sorry. I'm expecting a good one there. But again, Milkman tips to come. I'll get into who I think wins. Did spoil it. I think it might have been last episode or the episode prior. I probably said it in both, to be honest. But anyway, Knights versus Cowboys. Now, we'll get into the team list for the Newcastle Knights. Kalen Ponga, the captain at fullback, potential New Zealand player, maybe, we'll see. Dominic Young back in Newcastle on the wing. Dane Gagai and Bradman Best, your centres. And Greg Marju on the other wing, of course. Fletcher Sharp and Dylan Brown are the halves pairing there. Is the halves pairing? Yeah. Wow. Dylan Brown at halfback. Obviously coming in on a massive deal. Long deal for Dylan Brown, being paid a bucket load to be there. Jacob Saifidi and Trey Mooney, the props. Phoenix Crossland at hooker. Dylan Lucas and McEwen, the second rowers, and Tyson Frizzell, the lock. On the interchange, Sandon Smith, Matt Croker, Thomas Cant, Raiders legend Pasami Solo, Fletcher Hunt, and Francis. Not even going to try in the 19 jersey. Tyson Gamble, Cody Hopwood, and James Schiller, another Raiders legend, in the reserves. So there you go. Last year, Newcastle wound up in 17th place, the Wooden Spooners in 2025. 6 wins, 18 losses. The big ins, Moneybags, Dylan Brown, huge in on the deal. I'm going to call it the deal because, man, he got bucket loads of money there. Pasami Sulo and Trey Mooney the ins for the Knights as well. Trey Mooney, I don't think, playing in this game. I don't think I said his name. And then the outs, they lost Brayley to the Mighty Green Machine, of course. Jaden Brayley and Adam Elliott, another Raider, to the Bunnies. I feel like there's a big... And we'll talk more about this later because there's another thing I'm going to touch on later about, the Canberra to Newcastle or Newcastle to Canberra pipeline. Obviously, Tarpany and Starlo included in that as well to Canberra. But, again, we'll talk more about that later. But it just clicked to me how many players went from Canberra to Newcastle or vice versa. There you go. But, yeah, Adam Elliott to the Bunnies. Talk more about the Bunnies later as well. Now, the North Queensland Cowboys, Scott Drinkwater, the fullback, Braden Burns and Murray Tuolagi. On the wing, Jackson Perdue and Tom Chester. In the centres, Jake Clifford and Tom Dearden, the captain, in the halves. The props will be Cohen Hess and Jason Tormalolo, who we'll talk about in a minute. Reed Marnie, who we'll talk about in a minute, at hooker. Halem Lukey and Sam McIntyre, the second rowers. And Ruben Cotter, my man, in the lock. The interchange for the Cowboys, Sonny Luke, Thomas McKaylee, I think that's how you say his name.
What?
Harrison Edwards, Kai O'Donnell, Griffin Naomi, John Bateman, Raiders legend, in the interchange as well. The reserves for the Cowboys, Liam Sutton, Matthew Lodge, and Robert Darby. Don't know, and Todd Payton, obviously. The Disney villain himself coaching the Cowboys. Cowboys finished 12th last year, and I know this doesn't really have any correlation, but just to put it into perspective, the Cowboys finished 12th in 2025 and wound up with 9 wins and 14 losses on the season. Tomalolo starting at prop. Now, he's been coming off the bench a lot in recent years. This is what I was alluding to when I said I'll talk about a little bit about Jason Tomalolo. And, you know, he's been coming off the bench, and every time he'd come off the bench and you'd watch a Cowboys game, the commentators will always bring up how he's come from something and then he just fell off a cliff and he's had all these issues and all that sort of stuff. But he's starting this year, and I think I even heard a commentator say, oh, he's gotten big, hasn't he? Like he's put on some weight, but in a bad way sort of thing. And, you know, you sort of think, man, I really hope he finds form now, because I feel bad for the bloke. And I'm not the biggest Cowboys lover out there, but not by any stretch am I a Cowboys lover, but you've got to sort of think, like, you got to hope that he does something. You got to hope he's ready to take the step in 2026 and beyond, because, man, he was looking special for a while there. I think he even might have been named to a team, to a squad for the Queensland Maroons. If memory serves correct, it probably doesn't.
No.
But you got to sort of think about it and go, man, I hope he's ready to take that step. Obviously, he's starting at prop this year, or this game. Hopefully, he's ready to take that step. Reed Marnie coming in for the Cowboys. It's a huge get, in my opinion. That's a great get for the Cows. But Reece Robson departing for the Chooks is a pretty big loss. So tit for tat there. And Semi Valame, Raiders, great Raider. I loved him for the Green Machine. He's off to Castlehood in the Super League. So there you go. So again, I'll get into my tip in a minute for the Knights Cowboys game, but there's a brief preview, because this isn't, I just wanted to sort of talk about more NRL stuff. Anyway, Bulldogs Dragons now. Bulldogs Dragons will get into the team list for the Doggies, first and foremost, being the home team, I believe. Connor Tracy at the fullback, Jacob Kiraz and Stephen Crichton, the captain, are the... No, sorry, I'm reading wrong.
Bro, what are you talking about, man?
Jacob Kiraz and my man Marcelo Montoya on the wings, Bronson Sherry and captain Stephen Crichton in the centres. Halves pairing, Matt Burton and the young gun, so they say, Lockie Galvin. Big news, not big news, but it was big headlines, his whole situation last year. So we'll see if he's ready this year. I think he was a little bit average last year, if memory serves correct. I didn't really watch many Tigers or Dogs games, if I'm honest. But, anyway. Max King and Sam Hughes, the props. Bailey Hayward, the hooker, and Viliamu Kikau, Jacob Preston are the second rowers, and the weak gutter dung himself, Jamin Salmon, the lock.
I don't know that kid very well. He was a weak-gutted dog as a kid, and he hasn't changed now. He's a weak-gutted dog person now.
In the interchange, Kurtman. Satili Tupanua on the interchange.
Bro, I'm out, man.
In the 15, Harry Hayes, Josh Curran, Sean O'Sullivan and Jake Turpin round them out. Reserves, Inari Tuala, Jonathan Sewer and Alec Olasimi Jones, the reserves. And obviously Serraldo coaching the Dogs again this season. Now, Dogs, they went up third in 2015 with a record of 16-8. They went out in straight sets, and I don't really feel like I hear much about them going out in straight sets, unless I'm looking in the wrong places. All I'm seeing is Raiders went out in straight sets. Obviously, we did. Didn't really want to talk about it, but I just want to touch. I don't think I've heard much about that. It could just be me, but I don't recall seeing anything about that or very much about it, and I'm not sure why. But yeah, rant over. No big ins that I believe will change the game for the Dogs, at least to my knowledge, unless I'm missing like one young gun that was stuck in New South Wales Cup for whatever reason, for another team that is coming on to the Dogs to get a big chance. But the outs, Toby Sexton to Catalan's Dragons in the Super League. And like I said earlier, Reed Marnie to the Cows. So, yeah, I like the Reed money to the Cowboys, and Toby Sexton obviously correct me if I'm wrong, will be one of the inaugural Perth Bears, Toby Sexton. I'm pretty sure I'm right there. But, yeah, obviously having a hiatus in France, of all places, to play rugby league out there. Now the Dargans. The St. George Illawarra Dragons will list up as follows. Clint Gutherson, the captain at the fullback. Christian Tuapolotu and Setu Tu in the wingers, Moses Sully and Valentine Holmes. The centers, the New York Jet himself. Kyle Flanagan and Daniel Atkinson, the halfback. So the coach's son still the 5'8", much to the Dragons fans' disgust, I'm pretty sure. Emery Hula, Raiders legend, the prop with Toby Couchman. The beach sprinter himself, Damien Cook, playing hooker.
Wow, holy dooly. People just won't believe that. Fellas, the guy who wears number 9 on his back for the Rabbitohs, he's a beach sprinter.
Hang on a sec, you're saying
No
Damien
way.
Cook is a beach sprinter?
Hindy, I'm telling
No
you.
way. You've made that up.
My mind is blown.
Luciano Leilua and Jaden Sua in the second row, and Hamish Stewart as the lock. The interchange for the Dargans. Haim Selly, Josh Kerr, who is an in. I know he's brand new to the Dragons. Blake Laurie on the interchange. Man, he's regressed, hasn't he? I would have thought for sure he would have been in that starting side, but he just has not been able to crack it as of recent. Ryan Couchman, I wonder if there's any relation to Toby there in the interchange. Lycan King Togia and David Farley on the interchange. The reserves, Jacob Halangahu, Matthew Feagai and Tyrell Sloan. And obviously the coach, Shane Flanagan, rounds out the Dragons side. Now, Saints were 15th. They wound up 15th in 2025 and ended up 16 in as their regular season record there. Again, no huge ins for the Dragons. They're kind of in a rough spot at the moment, the Dragons, but again, I do think they'll overcome some odds and surprise quite a few people. But they did lose Sione Finau to the Mighty Raiders and Lockie Ilias to the Gold Coast Titans, and David Clemmer departing for St. Helens in the Super League, which is a good get for St. Helens. If you know much about the Super League, if you watch the Super League, you know they're a powerhouse normally, so obviously upholstering that what's the word I'm looking for? Upholstering that we'll say forward pack, but it's not what I'm looking for. Great. I love it when you just can't think of that word, eh? Sucks. Anyway, Milkman tips. So we'll get right into that right now.
Look hard. This might get tasty.
Hello and welcome back to Milkman Tips for another year. It's back for 2026. Get excited. Now I'm looking to redeem myself after an 18-19 record up to what will be known as the hiatus. I think I got up to round 5. So 18-19 through 5 rounds, not great, but I'm looking to turn that around with a couple of aces up my sleeve, no pun intended, because we will be tipping Vegas alone today. Now, Hull Kingston Rovers taking on the Leeds Rhinos up there in the entertainment capital of the world. Magic things do tend to happen. So I think Sivo, Danny Levi and my Leeds Rhinos get the job done over the winners of what is crowned as the quadruple. So give me Leeds in a close one over Hull Kingston Rovers, which will end up being, in my opinion, the game of the day. Now, moving on, Knights v Cowboys. I know a Knights fan. He's on my footy team. He's from Newcastle, great bloke. And he is convinced that in Nate's words, mid-Cowboys will put 40 on the Newcastle Knights. Now, unfortunately for Nate, I agree. I think the Cowboys will get the job done comfortably. Give me the Cowboys by 1 million over the Newcastle Knights. Bulldogs v Dragons, the last game I'll be tipping here on Milkman Tips Vegas, obviously. I said before magic things happen in Vegas, but even more unexplainable things happen in round 1. Now here comes the card up my sleeve. I have a theory, and I'm going to stick with it from this year onwards. I haven't done it before, but I really have thought about it, and I really think the more you tip with your head in round 1, the more you are set up to fail. Like I said, unexplainable things happen. So I'm going to tip against my head. Give me the Dragons to beat the Bulldogs, in a very, very close affair. I'm talking like golden point sort of situation. I think they'll get the job done by 1 in golden point against the Dogs. Now that's Milkman Tips Vegas, 1st of 2026. Let's see how I go. 3-0 incoming. Alrighty, let's head around the NRL. Now there is quite a bit to talk about here in terms of what's going on around the NRL that I haven't really been able to talk about or haven't really thought about talking about until now, because there's just nothing going on in the nation's capital at the moment. Like I said, no news is good news up until recording. Obviously that could change by the time this comes out and I look like an idiot because I didn't talk about it. But at the time of recording, there is nothing. There is absolutely nothing between Tuesday and Thursday for me to talk about. So here we go. Payne Haas, or Hakeem, as he likes to be known. I'm pretty sure he even said I still call myself Payne and my partner still calls myself Payne. So I'm going to call him Payne Haas just for the interest of this and all sorts of that. But he will be joining the South Sydney Rabbitohs at season's end. Claims that he has no issues with the Broncos head coach, Michael Maguire, after reports said that he is leaving due to a dispute with the coach, but he says that could not be further from the truth. And he will be joining the Bunnies due to family reasons and the opportunity to play under Wayne Bennett once again. That was the influence to his decision, and that comes from the ABC. Fair enough. I mean, I know for a fact that, him and Wayne do have a good relationship. I know that they got along so well because I think Payne Haas's brother and obviously Wayne Bennett's son both have disabilities, unfortunately. So they got along due to that and amongst a plethora of other things, I believe. So yeah, good on him. Playing under Wayne, I'd want to do the same thing. So fair play. He will be joining the Bunnies on a 3-year deal, 2 years, and then a player option, which if Bennett's there, I'm more than just assuming that he will stick around. This comes after many years of Payne Haas wanting to leave the Broncos, headlines and all that sort of stuff, and reports that he wants to leave and that he will leave, and then he just doesn't, and then he stays at the Broncos for another 2 years, and then it comes out again. All this sort of stuff, but he will be leaving the Broncos for the South Sydney Rabbitohs. Now, the big news of the week, Mitch Barnett was granted release and will depart the New Zealand Warriors at the end of the year. Now, this is where my Newcastle to Canberra pipeline came up before, and I said I'll talk more about it later. Here it is. Now, he was granted release by the Waz, who was contracted to the end of 2027, but will return to Australia on what was labelled as compassionate grounds by Sam Goodwin of Yahoo. Now, let's get into this, and there is a payoff at the end. There is a reason why I'm getting into his career now, but he started his career at Canberra, playing 2 games for first grade in 2015. Then he played for Newcastle from 2016 to 2022. Now, obviously, a Warriors player from 23 to the present. In 2015, back when he did play for the Raiders, he re-signed on a 2-year deal with us, and in that time, he wound up being the 2015 New South Wales Cup Player of the Year and was named at second row in the New South Wales Cup 2015 Team of the Year for Canberra. Now, there were some discrepancies behind that 2-year deal. His tenure with the Milk ended fairly sour, obviously, and in that November of 2015, Barnett's management discovered that his Canberra contract for the next 2 seasons hadn't actually been lodged with the NRL just yet. So he opted to instead attempt to sign a more lucrative deal with the Gold Coast Titans. Now, here's where the sour part comes in. After Canberra threatened legal action, the signed contract was discovered and lodged, and Barnett returned to Canberra to honour the 2-year deal. But on June 8, 2016, day before my birthday, I think I was turning 13, I believe. Bugger me. Yeah, it would have been 13. Far out. So 10 years ago. He rejoined the Newcastle Knights effective immediately on a contract until the end of 2017 after being released from the final years of his contract with the Canberra Raiders. Now, the payoff, what I'm getting at. Should the Raiders bring him back? Let me know what you think. Should the Raiders try and get him? And if he's willing to bring his talents back to the nation capital, should we pounce on that opportunity? Obviously, if Josh Papali'i is ready to retire at the end of the year, he would be a great get to replace him at prop. And our forward pack would look absolutely incredible, by the way, just quietly. If it isn't up there with the best now, it definitely would be after, Mitch Barnett comes in. So, let me know what you think. Like I said, are you willing to bring him back? Would you be willing to bring him back if you were part of the Canberra Raiders? If he's willing to bring his talents back to the nation's capital. Now the Zach Lomax saga. I don't think I have spoken about this at all on this podcast. Obviously, we had the Don Furner, that is Bull Twang, and that's a PG version of what he said. That is Bull Twang claims, as reports came out that the Raiders would be interested in bringing him to Canberra if Lomax was to be released and all that sort of stuff. So if you have been living under a rock like I normally am, don't worry, it's not a bad thing. And I don't know what's taken me so long to talk about it here, but he was released from his current contract with Parramatta to pursue interest outside of NRL. I'm assuming that means R360 and rugby union. The Storms then decided to plot a move to sign the lucrative winger. But in doing so, all 3 parties, Lomax, the Storms and the Eels, are now tangled in a legal dispute. Now, this is a quote from Fox League. I'm not sure who wrote the article. I couldn't find it. And I quote, "Yet to find out what his future holds, legal proceedings in the New South Wales Supreme Court are still ongoing, with the NRL being subpoenaed, and the Storm's chairman, Matt Tripp, and CEO Justin Brodsky set to testify in the coming days. This comes as ARLC chairman Peter V'landys and NRL CEO Andrew Abdo stated they would love to see him back in the 13-man game, despite reports emerging that he was set to join R360 before it was postponed to a later date. Again, that comes straight from Fox League. Now, last night, I think it was, on NRL 360, Andrew Webster and the other bloke, Reed, who, oh mate, he could cover the most exciting thing in the world and make it seem boring. Honestly, that guy is very, very boring in my opinion. But anyway, they clashed heads about it on NRL 360, and apparently he got very fiery. I didn't watch it. I planned to. I probably should have watched it before I started filming. But there was a lot of this going on at the time. So how good! I cannot wait to see that. That it will be very fiery. Whatever Webster said, I agree with him. I think he was on the he shouldn't come back side, and Reed was like, yes, he should. Yes, he should. But I don't know. I think at the end of the day, he's still contracted with the Eels, so should be up to them what happens, really. I mean, hey, the Super Rugby's going. You know, I'm sure the wouldn't want him on the Brumbies. I'm sure the Waratahs are looking for players. Wouldn't be surprised. Anyway, moving on. We just touched on the big bosses, Volandis and Abdo. The trip to Vegas started really rough as the big boss's flight was turned around due to air conditioning issues. That's it. Back to Winnipeg.
You kids can't keep your heads to yourself. I'm gonna turn this car around and there'll be no Cape Canaveral for anybody. That's it. Back to Winnipeg.
Now, the chartered Qantas flight to Vegas carrying the big bosses, like I said, Peter Volandis and Andrew Abdo, was forced to return to Sydney because of an air conditioning issue. Apparently, the flight was in the air for a couple of hours, but turned around because of said issue. It took off at 3:20 on Tuesday for the 13-hour trip to the American city, but returned to Sydney shortly after 5:20, and it would have been a long couple of hours with the pressurized cabin and all the people on the flight, especially to America. Like, the planes are normally pretty big. It would have got really stuffy really quick, and if I'm Volandis and Abdo, I would have been very happy. I don't know why it took them 2 hours to turn it around. Surely you go, nah, it's too hot in here. Let's turn back, get them on the next flight, because bloody hell, like that would be a rough couple of hours on such a big plane with so many people, I'm assuming, and little or no air conditioning in this case. So thank goodness they turned that flight around, because holy smokes, that would have been terrible. That would have been absolutely atrocious. But anyway, I zoomed through that quicker than I imagined, but there we go. We're done for the Friday episode. You hung in there. Congratulations. You deserve a pat on the back, because that, I can't imagine, would have been very good. Now, before I jet off, I do want to make a couple of things known or said. Make sure you are following at Milkman Podcast on Twitter, Instagram, Threads. I don't know if I'm going to keep going with Threads because it seems pretty dead every time I open it to post. Seems like nothing's really digging on there, so I might stop. I don't know. I'll keep going for now. But anyway, Instagram, Twitter, Threads, TikTok. We're on TikTok. Milkman Podcast on TikTok. Make sure you're following that if you have it as well. More big things to come over there. While we're at it, make sure you're following the newest addition to the Milkman umbrella at Milkman Sentinel on Instagram and X for the weekly paper every Tuesday. And special shout out to the Gungahlin Bulls Rugby League Club out there for following along. I'm a North Canberra boy myself, and I followed them. I follow them on both Milkman Sentinel and Milkman Podcast, but They only follow the Sentinel, and mate, that's a pretty good go. I don't know if they still are, but last I checked, they were, and I'm pretty happy with that. I'm pretty happy with that. Being a North Canberra boy and all, so I'm happy as. That's brilliant. But anyway, yeah. Speaking of Milkman Sentinel, do expect special editions when something big happens, like the 1 year celebration on Monday. How exciting! I'll talk more about that in a second. Or big things like when we land Mitch Barnett, because it will happen. I'm calling it. It's going to happen. I'm calling my shot. Mitch Barnett to the Canberra Raiders. Here we go.
Here we go.
Anyway, speaking of the 1 year celebration, on Monday it will be the 2nd, which is the 1 year anniversary of the Milkman. The first post ever made on the Milkman podcast, Instagram and Twitter, I believe, was on the 2nd of March. So very exciting there. Very exciting. Came very quickly, that 1 year. I feel like the hiatus, made it come a little bit quicker. Came around quick, and the episode on Monday, we'll talk about that more. We'll talk about the history and all that sort of stuff. I'll put aside a big chunk of the Monday episode, so it probably is one to miss, if I'm honest. No, please don't. Please don't miss it. It'll be a good one, maybe, hopefully. But yeah, more on that topic on Monday. Like I said, the hiatus probably helped that 1 year come around much, much quicker. I'm going to have to scan all my episodes as well and try to find some good bits and good stuff I said and funny moments. There probably won't be many. I can think of one off the top of my head, but again, we'll wait till Monday to whip all of those ones out. But yeah, football's back on Sunday. Enjoy your Vegas football. I'm so looking forward to it. It's officially back. Football's back. Football is back. Both AFL and NRL. I'm very happy. More so about the NRL. Obviously, the big games, it's fully underway next week, but Vegas is back. It's going to be great. It's going to be grand. Sunday morning, here we go. Leeds, Rhinos, Bulldogs, Dragons, and Knights, Cowboys. Not necessarily in that order. But anyway, see you guys on Monday for the 1 year celebration. And as always, up the milk.
Sir, could I trouble you for a glass of warm milk? It helps put me to sleep.
You could trouble me for a warm glass of shut the hell up. Now you will go to sleep, or I will put you to sleep. Check out the name tag. You're in my world now, Grandma.
Oh, dear.